While Julia Gillard continued to establish the framework within which she'll function as Prime Minister, including such mundane necessities as moving into her new office, her Deputy PM, Wayne Swan, and Resources Minister Martin Ferguson were working furiously behind closed doors to try to find a way through the mining tax impasse. The new Prime Minister said on taking the leadership late last week this was her priority. But hours of discussion today have still failed to produce a breakthrough. The government hopes to announce a deal by the end of this week, but it may not be possible, with some complex sticking points remaining. Political editor Heather Hewitt reports from Canberra.
You like the Humphrey there?
Julia Gillard finally got to move down the hall and into the big chair this morning, taking with her all of her favourite possessions.
Yeah, actually, that's got to go up. I'm still arranging. And books. Still arranging too.
In the frenzied climate of election speculation, she's taking a bit of time to settle in and let the public get used to her.
You're not going to please everybody all of the time, so I'll be as plain speaking, as frank as I can. Yep, there'll be some days you're a bit unhappy with me. I hope that there are more days that you're happy with me.
As for the man, Julia Gillard unseated, today he was getting on with his new life and station.
Guys, thank you for being so nice.
Kevin Rudd moved out of the lodge last night and back home to his Brisbane electorate of Griffith, where he's now performing the duties of a humble backbencher.
What's bygones is bygones. It's been great to come back home. You know what was really nice this morning, waking up in Norman Crescent, Norman Park? One thing, hearing the sound of rain on a tin roof.
OK,
we'll be back in a sec.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
As for the man who hopes to make his own move into the big office, he was looking a little less than prime ministerial.
Right, now we have asked you to commit to burning, a ceremonial burning of the Speedo, so we never need to see
Joe,
you in
I
the
just
budget
don't know that I
again.
can do this. This is too tough for me. I mean, come on, look, to be honest. So we'll pop that on there.
Yeah,
and up go the flames. Now, you need to take the Speedos as a sign of your commitment. You said you would. We've got it on air. I have to break a promise. It's a core promise. On they go. Come on. This is terrible. And they're going on now.
As the opposition leader was burning Speedos, the Prime Minister, the Treasurer Wayne Swan and Resources Minister Martin Ferguson were locked in talks trying to thrash out a solution to the problems surrounding the mining tax. The Prime Minister played a key role in introducing the tax in the first place. Now she's taking steps to publicly promote her credentials as a skilled negotiator who can sort it out.
When I was in Western Australia in the last few weeks, I did say at the Western Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry that actually there's a bit of agreement here, a bit of agreement that Australians are entitled to a fairer share, a bit of an agreement that the mining industry can pay more tax, so let's build on that.
She has her fingerprints all over the big bad tax and frankly she has to wear the blame for putting us in this position in the first place.
It's a theme the opposition is hammering, but one that will have much less resonance once the issue is resolved. It's a highly complex negotiation, and though the government was hoping to make an announcement by the end of this week, it is possible it could go on for some days yet.
Let's unpack the facts. Look, we're having a respectful conversation with the mining industry and we will continue to work with them and hopefully work our way to a conclusion.
Late yesterday, the vocal chief of Fortescue Metals, Andrew Twiggy Forrest, tried to up the ante by releasing details of a compromise offer made by Kevin Rudd early last week, which he says was not good enough. What is now understood is that big mining companies like BHP accepted the likelihood of increased taxation and repeatedly urged the government to include them in negotiations several months before the tax was announced. This never happened and helps explain the open warfare that later erupted. Whatever deal is reached, it's no longer clear whether Tony Abbott would still dump the tax if elected.
Will you scrap any deal after the election? If everyone signs off and is happy and they say, will you drop that after the election?
You know, I'm not going to speculate on what we might do in respect to something that has not even happened yet.
Mr Abbott has said on numerous occasions that he would drop it. I've heard that in the Parliament repeatedly. So this is a 180-degree turn from Phony Tony today. I don't know whether we can take him at his word or whether this is the gospel truth.
As the mining tax continues to dominate the political arena and Julia Gillard enjoys her honeymoon in the polls, the opposition today moved to grab some of the limelight. It announced a $1.5 billion boost to mental health spending.
The first is 800 new acute and subacute mental health beds. The second is 20 new early psychosis prevention and intervention centres. And the third is 60 further Headspace youth mental health centres.
Last year, the opposition finance spokesman Andrew Robb revealed he was suffering from depression and joined the opposition announcement today.
I've literally had some thousands of emails, mainly from people I've never met in my life, and overwhelmingly the request in many of these cases, or the concern that they express, is that they don't know what to do, who to go to, how they get help.
Later, the opposition moved from policy to personal attack, accusing the Prime Minister of wasting taxpayers' money by flying to Brisbane in a VIP jet for a Labor Party fundraiser last night.
The Prime Minister should immediately repay the cost of flying an Air Force jet to Brisbane, return, for a Labor Party fundraiser. She should also apologise for misusing taxpayers' funds to do so.
As I understand it, the Prime Minister was with a sitting member of Parliament, and that's entirely appropriate.
A spokesman for the Prime Minister said tonight Julia Gillard was sticking to the rules that applied under successive governments. The opposition, by the way, knows those rules full well. As to election timing, this question will be ever present until the date is announced.
Could you give us the date of the next election, please?
Oh, look, not right now,
Okay.
but we've got some governing to do.
The dilemma remains whether to go sooner rather than later to capitalise on Julia Gillard's popularity in the polls, or leave it a few months to allow time for her to do some governing and grow into the job.